that number one American when it does sneak up on you,
Yeah.
it's a different kind of pressure when you step out on the court.
I didn't really feel pressure. To me, it was more like a perk. It was just like, oh, wow, this is really cool. Like, I'm glad I get to say this for now. I'm glad I still get to say it from last year. But I think that's the way I like to look at it, to not make it feel like some huge pressure.
What's good? Welcome.
How's it going? Thank you. Appreciate it.
Cheers.
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 It's got me on lockdown.
Cheers.
You two are the only ones in this room or in the stadium that know what that walk feels like. What's that walk like? Explain to us that feeling when your name's called.
Yeah, there's a little sign out there that says pressure is a privilege, that Billie Jean King said when you walk out. And I feel like when you read that and you walk out here, it's just like a super special feeling. And it's so loud. And it feels so much like New York. And it's definitely, I think, special compared to the other Grand Slams for sure.
Yeah, so I'm so old. I'm before that sign. So I didn't have the sign.
Sorry.
Now, but for me, Arthur Ashe was an idol of mine, and I was playing in the qualifying doubles with my brother the year they were building the stadium, and I watched the sign go up on the stadium. And so from then on, it was kind of a goal of mine and a dream, really, to be able to play on the stadium, because I was still at that point in qualifying, going off to college. And then that first time I walked out, man, it was goosebumps to play on the stadium named after an idol of mine. And it never changed. Honestly, not one time did I walk out on the court without getting goosebumps.
That's dope. Lala, is there an equivalent in your world of like, I don't know if it's being a New Yorker, if there's a certain thing in New York that you're like,
yeah,
holy cow?
I think being a New Yorker, I'm originally from Brooklyn. I think that just preps you for these kind of moments and, pressure moments. New York is fast paced and you got to be ready for everything. In my world, it's a little more confined, except if I'm doing like something live or whatever, but still pressure. You always want to perform. You always want to be the best at whatever you're doing. So, you just got to be ready to step up to the plate. But I think living and being from New York definitely prepares you for that.
Going along with New York, that theme, you said it a little bit, Jessica, but what makes the U.S. Open different from the Australian or Wimbledon or the French? I mean, they all have
It just feels like New York City. It feels like the people and the energy, and it just makes it, I don't know, your adrenaline, I think, is just pumping so much more.
My co-host here is an excellent
He can
tennis
play.
player.
He can play.
a little bit overstated. I could play back in the day for sure.
So talk to us about like your history with tennis. How'd you get into it?
Yeah.
Do you still play?
I love tennis and ended up playing through high school. Was probably a little bit better at tennis in high school than basketball.
Really?
Which isn't saying much because I wasn't highly recruited in basketball. I was a late bloomer, but yeah, tennis was something that I really loved. I loved being out there on your own. I loved it being all you. Versus basketball, you have teammates that you can count on. So it was a good mix with the two. And I still play in the off season now. My wife's gotten into tennis, and so it's been fun to get a chance to see her start to play, and I can play with her now and also against her and shove it down her face. That good stuff.
We talk about singles a lot, singles players, and obviously as the word describes, it's singular. You also play doubles with one of the more popular players on tour. Talk to us about playing with Coco and how the partnership came to be.
Yeah, Coco is great. Obviously, such a popular young superstar right now in tennis. And she's a great, great girl, great family, super chill and down to earth. She's pretty loud and in your face on the court, but off the court, she's like really chill. So yeah, we just started playing again. I think it was last year. We played together a few times before, but always did terrible. And it was kind of just like a random matchup. And we're like, gosh, we should be better. Like, why are we so bad? Mm-hmm. So we got crushed like a couple times. And finally, I think it was in Doha, we played together and like had a couple tough matches and finally started getting a feel of playing with each other. And we won the tournament. And we were like, well, I guess we should just try and keep playing. And we were also doing very well in singles at the same time. So for tennis, the way that works is we were getting into the same tournaments and kind of having the same schedule, which makes it really, really easy to play doubles together. And yeah, we just started doing really well. And it's been really fun. And
Pickleball. You're an
I don't
owner. You're
understand,
an owner
yeah.
of a pickleball team.
Wow.
Yes,
Right?
I'm
You
an
play pickle. Talk to us about pickle versus tennis.
Yeah, honestly, the first time I got into it was because my mom played it at her senior center and she brought me there. And I was like, this is perfect.
Wow.
Like, my mom played tennis her whole life. Now she doesn't have to move as much. She doesn't have to serve this way. She's now in her 80s and still plays twice a week.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, this is great. And then I moved out to California and everyone my age was playing. I was like, what? I thought this was just for senior citizens. And now everyone my age and even much younger, because I'm now one of the older ones, but everyone's playing it and it's easy to do and social and fun. And I think tennis helped my pickleball. And I don't know if pickleball is ever going to help my tennis, but it's still just a fun social encounter. And I don't see why it has to be like such a controversy over being one has to hate the other.
Well, I can tell you one of the reasons why
right.
is because my dad taught me a lot about tennis.
Yeah.
Now he's only pickleball.
Yeah.
My dad can never beat me in tennis right now.
Right.
He can beat me
Beat
in
you at
pickleball.
That just pisses you off.
That's
doesn't
the
it?
beat right there. That's the beat.
Well, now you got to practice pickleball a little
That's
more.
right.
You got to get
I
better.
got to try to go pick up pickleball, and he's already playing that all the time.
Yeah.
So I think it's almost like pickleball takes away some of the athleticism that I feel like my advantages.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
James, in doing the research for this show, I was fascinated by your story and correct my research. Feel free to quiz me. You're in Harlem as a child.
Yep.
Right. You hear Arthur Ashe speak.
Yep.
Okay. You said earlier you saw this go up and you saw his name go up
Yeah.
on it, right? You play on center court,
Yeah.
right? And you win the Arthur Ashe Humanitarian Award,
Good.
right? What's
Yeah.
that journey like?
Well, that
That's
was
awesome.
Right?
That's
so that was actually my mom told me that was the most proud she ever was of me. More than any win I ever had, or more than any tournament I won, or anything like that, was when I won the Humanitarian Award. And because it says something about what you did with your wins, And I always said at that time that the matches you play in the off season, which don't mean anything, they're for charities. You're doing a bunch of events. You're doing your own events. Everything you're doing there, they're actually more important than the ones you're playing throughout the year, because the ones throughout the year give you the opportunity to do those ones in the off season, to do what you can to donate, whether it's funds, time, your name, whatever, to help others. So when my mom saw that I received that award, she said that meant everything as a mom. What you did as an athlete. I know you put in the time. I know you did.
That was cute. That was
I know you did the early mornings. I know you were in the gym. I know all that stuff. But to know that you were a good person with what you did, she's like, that means more to a mom. And now being a parent, I completely agree. So that was really special to me, and having it named after someone that I looked up to, that was an idol that I always wish I had time with, wish he had been around longer. But knowing everything I learned about him, how great of a human being he was, if there were more like Arthur Ashe, I think our world would be in a much better place. But he did everything he could. And it's something I think about often. With when he was at the top, he used his fame and fortune to help others. When he was at the bottom, when he had HIV and AIDS, instead of saying why me and crying and saying, so I didn't say why me when I was holding up the Wimbledon trophy, so I can't say it now. I need to do what I can to help others that are less fortunate, and to try to use that and kind of whatever's facing you, figure out a way to make other lives better, is really inspirational, and something that I wish I was able to still talk to him about.
I want to take a little bit of a step back. Obviously, we're here on set of Set the Bar with Grey Goose and The Shop. Is there someone, we'll start with you, James, and you,
Okay.
Jessica. Is there someone that set the bar for you guys from a tennis standpoint? Is there someone when you were starting your careers that you were like, yeah, that's the one that I either want to strive to be like, or someone that just inspired you to follow in their footsteps?
One that I admired the most really was Jim Courier, because of his work ethic. So he set the bar with the fact that every time they came on camera, every time I talked about him, said he set the record at where he trained for the mile run, for the 400, for the 800. He was in the gym, and you could tell when he stepped on the court, he knew he had worked harder than his opponent. And you weren't going to beat him by outworking him. You might beat him by having more talent than him. You might beat him by having a good day, but you're not going to beat him by outworking him. So that's something I looked up to. I just looked up to the characteristic. I could never play the exact style of him or anything like that, but I just felt like that's something that's in your control that you can emulate and you could try to be like. And so for me, I looked up to someone that set the bar as just saying, you're not going to outwork me.
Love that. Jessica, is there someone that set the bar for you?
Venus and Serena, for sure.
100%.
They were there. They were the ones, right, that everyone wanted to be like. And then obviously being an American, I always just rooted for them because I wanted to see Americans do well. I wanted to see American tennis do well. And they were just flashy and different and incredible athletes, and just broke so many barriers as well. So I know a lot of people say that, but I was definitely that young girl that looked up to Venus and Serena. I didn't even care about who they were playing. I was just like, no, I want them to win.
La, I know one thing for you. You know, obviously, we're all very well familiar with your work as an actress, but you're also an entrepreneur. I know that's something that's really important to you. How are you setting the bar, being more than just an actress and your work as an entrepreneur?
Yeah, I think, in this day and age, you have to do more than one thing. So it's important to be an entrepreneur. It's important to use your platform for the right thing. So whether it's, creating a brand or business or giving back to the community in some ways, I just want to always amplify my platform for good and things that I'm, passionate about, and hope by doing that, I can also inspire others to do the same thing. It's cool to post, oh, look at my outfit today and stuff like that. But like, what are you really doing to make change or push people to change? That's really important to me.
I'm going to go back there and drink 10 more of these.
Actually good, but I didn't want to look like the only one that was drinking.
So guys, so we're gonna cheers to you to a great tournament,
Cheers.
to more wins on and off the court,
Thank you.
and thank you guys for joining us.
Thank you, guys.
Cheers, guys.
Thank you guys.
Cheers.
Gordon's there.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Cheers again.
Everyone.
Cheers, got me on.